Welcome to Transcendent Leadership. We bring together top leaders and experts to share their unfiltered truth about the journey to self-actualization and the path to heart-centered leadership. You'll hear raw lessons, learn ancient wisdom, and practical steps to rise to your fullest potential. Now is the time to walk into this new paradigm of leadership. Let's transcend together. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Transcendent Leadership. I'm your host, Carissa Johnson, coming to you hot from my inner goddess layer of my home in Boulder. Really enjoying recording in this space. And as you may or may not have listened to last week, I have been moving through some really simple and very profound practices that I've been wanting to share with you as we all learn how to transcend, how to experience our truest divinity, our most natural essence, living from the heart space and unconditional love, and really experiencing these realms of multidimensionality that are beyond our mind's comprehension. Forgiveness was the one that I shared with you last week, and this week is going to be about grace. One of the coolest things that I have learned over the last, I don't know, maybe 5 years or so is that my name actually means grace. It also means beloved in Greece, but it means grace. And so in my 33rd year, I turned 33 in March, which I cannot believe when I'm recording this. It is August, where what is happening to time? Truly, it is like as we ascend into these new dimensions, as we transcend, as we evolve from the mind body into the spirit, and we experience the golden age, the new earth that so many ancient ones, holy ones have shared with us. Truly, time is becoming incredibly warped. And I don't know about you, but it's like every day feels like a month of what I experience, what I become aware of, just all of this alchemy and transmutation of this healing is so profound. And what I learned early or a couple of years ago that I was gonna say claim, but it's declare. I declared that was going to be my word for this year in my 33rd year is grace, is to embody my truest essence, is to embody my most divine self and to offer this to the world. And as I claimed it, I surely should have been more aware of what that would initiate me into. And this year in 2023, when I'm recording this, has been an initiation into learning how to embody grace, to share grace, to live in grace, to receive grace, to remember, really, really, really remember grace. And all of the definitions I look up for what grace is, none of it really resonates with me, although there's truth in all of it, right? There's a definition around somebody, being eloquent, or there being somebody pardoned for something that they did. And I think that can be true. But what I'm speaking about, what I want to dive into is the frequency of grace, the act of grace from the frequency, and the ripple effect that happens when we all get to experience this loving energy and presence in the world. And I think what is really interesting is that synonymously with grace, I believe underneath it is love, is truth, is forgiveness. What I talked about last week is forgiveness. And these practices are trendy. These topics are trendy, right? Everybody's talking about capital T truth, speaking my truth. What is truth? I'm a truth seeker. We're talking more about love. As I'm recording this, we're in a Venus retrograde. So there's this big invitation to look at where we're withholding love, where we're not embodying love, where we want to and crave and call in love and forgiveness, right? It's these practices, these words, these frequencies on the surface are very simple. And what spirit has always told me, what my guides, angels have always told me, is that it is the simplest of practices that actually are the most profound. Anyone can make anything really complicated, but these hold deep ancient codes that they unlock our selves, they unlock our greatness, they unlock our healing, they unlock life, they unlock all of life. They really do. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to share with Grace, I was flooded. I was flooded with emotion because it has been a thing that I've been putting most of my energy towards this year. And over the last couple of weeks, I've been doing a course with Richard Rudd, who is the founder, the owner, the channel of the Gene Keys, which is a profound ancient teachings combined together to create this holy guide book for life. And I did his 7 days of grace, and it anchored me into this more fully. And I was like, I just have to share whatever's on my heart. I don't have a lot of notes here, but I do feel that whatever comes through is going to come through. And what I want to say about grace is that when I started thinking about talking about it, what I was reminded of is how so often when somebody is making a mistake, they're asking for grace. They're asking for you to pardon them. They're asking whatever they're asking for, what they're really asking for is love, is for you to see them through the eyes of God, is for you to make space for their flaws, make space for their mistakes, make space for their revelation, make space for their learning, make space. And that is what, and that is how we tap into grace. You know, I started creating this whole ridiculous framework for like how to tap into grace. And maybe I actually will create something with that, like an actual framework. But what I want you to feel is just what you feel as I speak these words, what comes alive within you, what you sense, where you might be like, oh, this topic isn't important, or this isn't something I need to practice, or you go into the mind of like, how do I figure it out? And that's part of the reason why I didn't provide a framework, because it's not something that you find in the mind. It's something that is awakened in the heart. It's something that you get curious about from the heart. And I've shared this many times, but I will continue to share this, which is that the heart is the medium, is the bridge between worlds. And if we desire to transcend, to really ride with this evolutionary time, it's going to require us to live, to breathe, to create from a different space. And I think we're moving from the mind, right? We think about Western education, Western medicine, psychology, it's gone from the mind. Now we're moving more into a society that speaks about the body and the nervous system. And I think the next iteration of that is then, therefore, the spirit, moving into the spirit, listening to spirit through the mind, heart, body, and listening and choosing to live from that space. And I fundamentally do not believe that we can separate these things. There's a trend right now, which is important, that we're all talking about somatics and nervous system and energy, but we can't separate the mind from the body and the spirit. They all work in this triad, in this trinity, similar to you know, to the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And I think these are the essence of three is really being evoked in me. Like, what does this actually mean? How do these things work together? And we're moving into the spirit, and the heart is the bridge between worlds. So grace becomes not only something that we can think about and simply contemplate, although I've been doing a lot of contemplative practices lately. Speaking of the number three, I pause every 3 hours for 3 minutes, which is a practice I learned from Richard Rudd's course, which has been profound, to welcome in grace, to really experience it, not think about it necessarily, but to experience it. And with grace, I think there's something really important to remember. And I realized this the other day when I believe, or let me share what it is, and then I'll share how I came to the realization. But the realization is that grace is like a boomerang. And when you boomerang out grace, when you give it to the person at the grocery store who cut in line, when you give it to the person on the street who cut you off, when you give it to the housemate that, does something or says something that you don't agree with, or that hurts you, or that triggers a part in you, when you offer people grace, that level of grace, that level of love, that opening of your arms, making space for love is what will come back to you. And this isn't just like a karmic energy. This is truly the reciprocity of the unspoken realms, the angelic realms. And lately, I've been connecting a lot with angels and feeling what that looks like and what that feels like to receive grace. And sometimes it literally does fall upon you when you are on your knees, when you are praying, when you are asking for a miracle, and that miracle drops in. That is grace. That is a moment where, similar to what I was saying last week in the forgiveness episode, that you receive something, but you don't just look at it as a momentarily, like, I received a miracle, I received an act of grace. You begin to live from life as a miracle. You begin to embody grace, that you walk around the world not allowing these little minute or in unimportant things to bother you so much. Yes, there is trauma that can get triggered from somebody acting in a certain way. And yes, you might have had a bad day, so that person cutting you off might irritate you. And the frequency that you hold in those moments matters more than anything. Grace is the antidote for accessing love. Because sometimes it's hard to go from I'm angry to I'm loving. And if we can't access that state of consciousness, if we can't access that belief, if we can't tap into that, I think grace becomes the river, the water, the buoyancy, the boundlessness, the raft that we take on our journey to arriving at love. And I got this message from an interaction that I had with a friend, where there was an experience that I don't feel inspired to share the totality of it, but I was upset about something that happened when I was away and I got home. And there was a real need for compassion. This person was navigating a lot in their world, and I could have taken it personal. Why did this thing happen? I'm upset about this. And instead, I chose to look through the eyes of God. And I chose to look at this person, this friend, this being on her journey, and act in a way of grace. Not just graciousness, like, oh, yeah, it's okay, but like really embody the fullness of love, of acceptance, of compassion, of peace, and stand in that and hold that. And that is what allowed her to be in a space of healing. That is what allowed us to deepen together. That is what allowed me to feel that much more connected to God, to source, to, I don't even want to say the universe, because it's not even just the universe. It is literally the creator of all that is. They who goes by 1,000 names, but still remains a mystery. The God, the goddess, whatever you believe is at the core of the focal point of this world that we live in, we live on. We're navigating, we're traversing together. Grace has helped me see how deserving I am and we all are of love. Because there's moments where sometimes we don't know, we don't feel like we know anything, whether that be what is life, who am I, where am I going, why does this matter, what is happening, please show me. That's been in the space I've been in. When I have all these questions, instead of continuing to ask, I just say, show me the way, show me the way to my heart. Allow me to really let this go and to give this up to you. I cannot hold this anymore. Grace just doesn't fall upon us when we are in a place of gratitude, when we're asking and praying, but it also has this intelligence where it comes upon us when we are in a moment of degressing, of descending, where we can be so caught up in our struggle. Grace does not discriminate and only provide for those who are worthy when they're on their game, when they're doing their practices. But for those of us who really have been having a hard time, of like, this has been such an initiation into life. You know, I've been thinking about a lot of the future and where we're going on this earth. And I've said this before, I have so much hope in humanity, but that doesn't, mean, that doesn't negate the fear that my body holds about where we actually going. And I think that we are on this path of major awakening, of being a more evolved species, of living in a more utopian society. And I think that that's grace that's going to allow us to really continue to tap into that. So just a couple of important aspects here for if you're thinking, how do I receive this frequency? How do I embody this in my life? The truth is, you have to make space for it. It's part of the reason why I've been pausing every 3 hours for 3 minutes, because grace cannot enter a full cup. If you're completely full, if your life is completely full, there's not much room. That doesn't mean that you're not overflowing and that there's a river flowing of abundance and ease and joy. Of course, we want to be full in that way. But I mean, if your life is so full, there's like no space for grace to touch you, to penetrate the most vulnerable, tender parts of you, because we're suppressing them, we're pushing them away, we're not acknowledging them. And just like a little child, those parts of us want to be acknowledged. They want to be loved, they want to be seen. So making space in your life for this frequency, for this energy, like physical space. Maybe that means every morning you tap into God, spirit, universe, Gaia. Show me what grace feels like. And close your eyes and feel the frequency, feel for the reaching of the angelic realms coming down to meet you, to hold you, to cradle you, to nurture you, whatever comes through. And to then feel it, right? So, like, quiet the mind, make space for it, but then to really feel it, feel the fullness of it. See if you can play with it and expand it by tapping into like the nothingness that also exists here. There's like everything and nothing at the same time, and playing in this polarity, this dichotomy, where we can be so grateful and excited about what's happening in the future, and also know that we need spaciousness to then receive that new consciousness, receive those new opportunities, receive the things that we want through the river, through the ocean of grace. And the last one is to soften, like to allow yourself to melt into the warmth, the releasing of pressure, the ease that wants to come through. It's almost like I feel like grace for me is like tea. It's like this warm elixir that's sweet and yet herbal and earthy. And as I drink it, every part of my body is touched by this liquid, this elixir, this warmth, this love. And I can feel it healing me. I can feel it awakening me. I can feel it helping me. I can feel all of it. Allow this light in, allow this love in. Similar to that, if you were drinking a warm glass of sweet honey and tea, you can feel how healing it is. You can feel this space it wants to have in your life. And you can start to tap into, once I'm in this space of grace, in this spaciousness of life, you can feel the miracles. You can feel the love. You can feel it on such a different level. You're not in a place of scarcity of trying to make anything happen, because you can feel the orchestration of everything happening. Like that's how my life has felt lately. It's like, oh my God, 3 years ago, I had this vision about this thing. And then now I'm experiencing what it was in the vision. I'm meeting a person who is connected to this vision. Like all of this life is just literally moving itself. I'm just showing up to it every day saying, show me, guide me. I'm willing to walk with you, living in this space of gray, not a black and white, but of this beautiful gray where I don't know. And yet so deeply fucking know that no matter what, I will be okay. No matter what, I'm going to be provided for. That's what came to me earlier. I was saying, God, once I make X amount of money, or I live in this place, or have this thing, I'm going to write more and I'm going to do this more. And God was like, you have that already. You are provided for. So why don't you start doing those things now? And I was like, wow, okay, that landed. Yeah, it's not about the more money I have, the more space I'll have in my life. Sure, there might be like, okay, there's financial freedom, time freedom, but I'm the only thing that's holding me back from the eros, the life force, energy, that the passion that wants to move through me, through my writing, through my poetry. That's why lately I even put artist on my tagline, because I feel really inspired to just be the artist. I shared that a couple podcasts ago, right? The label of like, I don't want to even be anything else, but I'm just the creator, the artist, however that wants to come through. And space and grace is the way that can help. Seems very simple, but I invite you to practice this today, to make space for grace in your life through your breath, through deepening in every moment in your body, through the eyes you look through the love that you share, through the ease that you allow yourself to walk through, letting go of control. We really don't have much of it anyway. It's going to radically revolutionize humanity. And I'm so grateful that I've come into contact with these teachings, with the Gene Keys and Richard Rudd, to deepen my understanding of this energy and of the truest essence of who I am, because that is grace. It's who we all are. But for me, it's like a different level of, that is what I feel like I'm here to do. I've said it before. I feel like I bring people back to God, bring people to their soul wisdom, to hear their voice, the voice of their soul, and also to live in such a way where everything in life just feels graceful. It feels peaceful. I was asked on a podcast on my friend Tori Gordon's podcast, The Coachable, which was a really awesome podcast. She was asked, what does success mean to you? Peace. If I am at peace, I am succeeding. No matter what I do, that to me is success. And as we all rewrite our version of success and we allow these old paradigms to crumble and we really ask ourselves what is most important to us, I think that living a graceful life, sharing gracefully, graciously, and embodying that frequency and sharing that with each other will be how we get through these next couple of years with the changes and the transformation. It will be monumental. Hope that this landed in the private pockets of your heart, that you don't let anyone else in, and just allowing this energy to come in and wave hello and give you a warm hug. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next week. Bye bye.